Probably the future of searching. I think with the entrance of ChatGPT, where everyone started using and understanding what a prompt was, people's search habits are changing from when we started using, I don't know, Google or Yahoo, and this plus this plus this. So the keyword searching it will be there as long as the generation that is used to it uses it. But we see a slow shift that people want to type in anything, and you should understand what they want.
Hello, welcome to another Music Ally Focus podcast. I'm Joe Sparrow, Music Ally's editor, and in this episode we ask, how do people search for music today, and what do they really want in those search results? We welcome Einar Helde, the AIMS API co-founder and CCO to the Focus podcast, to answer that question, as well as to explain how technology is allowing people to search in novel and nuanced ways, and what that means for people who make music and the rest of the industry. All that in 1 minute. Now, if you don't know, each Music Ally Focus episode analyzes one meaningful music business story at a time. And so this podcast is also going to be quick. It should take about the same amount of time as Mike Yikialo could punch 1,500 TV sets. Mike, wearing boxing gloves, punched 10 21-inch TV sets in 7.7 seconds in 2001. And why not, frankly? Now, talking of seeking a big hit, the needs of people who make, share, and use music have changed dramatically over the years. Artists now scramble to be discovered amongst the 100,000 plus new tracks that are supposed to be uploaded each day, and equally, the people seeking music scramble to find what they really want. So in this Music Ally Focus Extra episode, made in partnership with AIMS API, we discuss the future of this discovery quandary, and how being able to search for music in a way that allows those searchers, whether professional music supervisors or simply fans of music, to get what they want, and perhaps even get what they didn't know they wanted in the first place. Right, over to Einar. So I'm very happy to welcome Einar Helde, the AIMS API co-founder and CCO, to the podcast. Hello, Einar.
Hello, Joe. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us. Can you tell us who you are and what AIMS API is, and perhaps also what it isn't, so we get the clarity around that?
Yeah, so I am one of the founders, as you mentioned. I worked in the music industry my whole professional life. I'm originally Norwegian, but I'm based in Copenhagen, Denmark. And I have most of my experience from production music and the sync industry. And that's also what led us to found AIMS back in 2019, was the need for searching big catalogs of music ourselves. So jumping ahead to what AIMS is, AIMS is a search and discovery technology used by almost everyone in the production music space, and now also by broadcasters, production companies, and labels and publishers to search their music in a more efficient way using AI technology.
And I'm guessing that the API part of the name is quite important here, right? If you're fitting into all these different catalogs and industry areas.
Yeah, so the AIMS API part is something that we set out to do. We wanted to be an API first company, so we can be available on all platforms, whether they are platforms that are sold to multiple companies, or if it's proprietary platforms built by the different music companies. And strategically, it's much less servicing required once you have a stable API. You don't need to build a platform. You don't need to fix things like UI and UX, etc. So it's leaner for a bootstrap company like ours.
Yeah, and so the clients who are using them can just plug it in and make it work the way they want to at their end. So who are those clients then? And maybe not this. Maybe you can't give specific names. I don't know, but can you sort of flesh out the kind of businesses that are using it?
Yeah, so we started out in production music, as I mentioned, because that's where we have our domain knowledge. And that was kind of a unfair advantage we had from the beginning, that we knew the decision makers of those companies around the world, because one of my co-founders, Martin, is also from that space and grew up in that space. So there was a similar technology that was acquired by Spotify and pulled from the market, and that actually created a gap that somebody needed to build a good enough technology to replace it. And that's how we set out. So we built something that we needed ourselves, and we knew others were needing it as well, because just the ability to search for music using an audio, whether it's a link or a file, is a big time saver. So that was the claim to fame, basically, that we did that in an efficient way. And now we cover everyone, all the big companies in production music. So if you go to any search site, you find I can drop in a link here, or I can search with natural language. There's a very good chance that we are powering it. I don't need to mention anyone because we cover most of them. I don't want to leave anyone out. Um, but our next step was to go into the adjacent businesses. So that means big broadcasters who search across multiple catalogs, or other aggregators collecting production music in one place, and also anyone who uses music for film and TV, where we're very familiar. Um, and then we quickly saw that this applies to all music companies, like other labels and publishers. They need it too. They're just not as advanced in their technology from before. They didn't really know that they needed it. So that was the next hurdle there.
I want to get into the sort of, if you like, the philosophy of what it means to find music, because we talk about search like, hey, we're searching for music, and everybody sort of understands that. But these are quite specific use cases. But also, there is, you're talking about several different communities of people who all have very specific approaches to finding music for what they need. So, what do people want? Like, what do they really want when it comes to finding a piece of music?
From my experience, what they want is the feel of a song, or the vibe, as we call it. So we built the algorithm to understand the feel of an audio and find other audios that have the same feel. And we saw that that was a very common way for music soups to search, but also for our brain to work. So then, kind of, I think of a song and I want more songs in the same style or feel as that song. And instead of describing it, you mentioned keywords, like you could tag it with genre and tempo and feel and instruments, but those are so binary, and there's no weighting in them. So you end up with very complicated searches. And I've done them myself. Like, I did music searches for over 10 years, knowing each catalog had different wordings, different taxonomies, and you couldn't find the best songs all the time. So the philosophy for us is to, in a search, show the best song objectively from the catalog that has the same feel as the song that you use as a reference, or songs if you use multiple songs as a reference. And that means that you go very deep in a catalog or deep in a database of music, because we're like, if you look at normal search system, they prioritize new releases, or they prioritize their own content. Like, they have different rule sets, and we just say, no, give us these songs that have the most similar feel to this song, and don't care about any metadata, any tags. You can, of course, filter afterwards, but initially, this is what you're looking for. So that was our goal.
Feel is a complicated concept, isn't it? Because it's one of those things I probably wouldn't be able to describe it, but if I heard it, I would know it. But you need to describe it in a technological way, right, to do it. So how do you describe that feel, like the similarity of feel?
It's a super complicated question, and I'm not the researcher.
We have
so
time.
Victor, one of our other co-founders, who's heading the research team, he found like the secret sauce. We explained to him what we wanted to achieve, what we felt, or what feel is to us. And then he's also a musician, so he kind of gets it, understands it. And I think that's the secret sauce that sets us apart from other companies doing similar things, is that he found something amazing that actually picks up that feel. And it's a combination of thousands of different parameters within an audio that then he comes back with something that has the same feel. And if I could share it, he's not worried about me going on podcast, because I can't share the secret sauce anyway. But that's kind of the idea behind it. That there's the je ne sais quoi, something you will hear it immediately when you drop in a song and you get similar songs. You will understand as a music lover, okay, I know why these are coming back. It can be
Mm.
genre, tempo, instrumentation, but it's so much more complex than that. So
So let's think about those people again who are searching for music. What are the problems that they primarily face that would drive them to use a system like this? I'm thinking. I'm trying to think. You've listed people working in different industries, but let's say you've got on one hand you may have, I don't know, someone who's combining lots of catalogs, and suddenly you have all this mismatched data. You've got from an artist perspective, you've got or a music fan's perspective, you've got 100,000 new tracks on streaming platforms every day. What do? How do you find new stuff? And then you want people want to sort of innovate as well with music. Like, there's so many different problems there. So, what are the problems that you hear people talking about that they're using aims to deal with?
yeah, that's the most interesting thing. Every week, I talk to a lot of our clients and prospective clients. There are new use cases where we think our technology can be applied. And since it's through an API, it's very flexible. You can make the button do whatever you need it to do, right? So initially, you want to search 2 million tracks from multiple different catalogs. And what a music editor or a TV editor or a music supervisor does is like, I'm going to make a whole series. I need 50 to 100 tension tracks. I need 50 to 100
Mm.
feel good tracks. And they make these kind of buckets. And before they needed to look into an album or they needed to search and then go through lots of music. Now you can just say, this is the feel I'm looking for. And then start listening and adding those to projects. And as you add them to projects, we do like what we call smart projects, or they're like dynamic playlisting, where we look at everything you already chosen and we can start suggesting based on that. And people know that feature from like Spotify. When you build a playlist, you're suggesting more tracks
Yeah.
that can fit there. We do that purely based on the audio. So we're speeding up that selection process. We can even, you can tell us, I need 200 tracks similar to these three. And then we build that with a click of a button. So you're suddenly saving in a year thousands of hours for these companies because they do these kind of pulls every day, and it normally takes days to make it for one show. Now you're breaking it down to hours. So that was the initial one, like, this brings value because your music soups can do more faster. uh, and Other things we look like, as a music lover, a lot of our team, we have like 30 people in the company, they are music lovers, most of them. They actually use our technology to find music they like themselves. Instead of trusting the Spotify algorithm or the Apple algorithm, they go and say, this is my favorite artist. What else do you have that is similar? And I don't care if it's unknown. I don't care where it's from. I want something that has the same feel as this song. And that's kind of doing their own curation or their own A&R, looking for talent that is objective. Doesn't care if it's a big star, doesn't care what the label or publisher is. It's just the sound. So everyone competes in the same level playing field.
Discovery is such an important part of the music experience, whether you're a professional music supervisor, whether you're just a fan, or whether you're a DJ or something like that. It's what sort of use cases might there be out there for this kind of discovery that we haven't really thought of? We've talked. You've mentioned the A&R, and that seems like a bit of a no-brainer. But I don't know how many people are really looking at it that way. So what other use cases are there?
As I said, we come up with them all the time, and then we go out and test them in POCs. So the sync use case is obvious, and it's like we are the premium standard there. For A&R, we're still exploring like where the value is. Is it combining producers with songwriters,
Mm,
artists with songwriters, etc.? There's lots of things that needs to fit into place. We see use cases in the DSP space as well. So building your own playlist. Now that we have natural language search, you can basically say, I'm having dinner with my wife. We're having Italian food. I need something romantic. And it does a
mm.
search for you and finds you great songs purely based on the words that you put out there. And I think that's probably the future of searching. I think with the entrance of ChatGPT, where everyone started using and understanding what a prompt
Yeah.
was, people's search habits are changing from when we started using, I don't know, Google or Yahoo,
Yeah.
and this plus this plus this. So the keyword searching it will be there as long as the generation that is used to it uses it. But we see a slow shift that people want to type in anything, and you should understand what they want. Um, but it can also be used based on your listening habits. So when you are listening to something, use those as a seed, and we'll find you more of what you like without any filters or with the filters you like. So I've been discussing with people in the UK. Let's find some local artists for the local radio stations. So it's a way for
Right.
them to dig deep into the ocean of new creators out there and try to activate them in the right way. I think that's going to be a super cool use case if you can start promoting local bands, or if you
Yeah,
can
for sure.
discover who are playing concerts in your city that is similar to the things that I like based on audio. That's an idea that I've had. We haven't explored it, but I think that's something that is quite obvious. That there's so many concerts going on, but you only see a fraction of them, or you see the big ones. And you want to know, my favorite music is this. Notify me when people like this come to my town. I think there's something there.
Do you see people coming to you and saying, "Oh, I've got an idea for a platform," and with something like, let's say they had that idea and came to you and said, "Oh, I want to test this out and see if it works." Do you think we're going to perhaps see a sort of a future where there's lots of discrete little activations to to our smart speakers and things like that that give us these little more nuanced routes in?
I think so. And there's a lot of startups coming to us saying, I have this idea. I want to search and activate local content from Latin America. And then they have partners with lots of content, but they have no way to search it or show it to people. And using Ames is a super fast way of building a website that you can search specific catalog. And there are value in this niche markets. And I'm a very big fan of solving small, valuable problems. So I'm not looking to solve all the problems within a music company, but like, what is valuable for you? You want to search your back catalog? Do you want to promote your new artist? Like all these different things, they can be businesses by themselves. Like that's the problem when you're very biz dev oriented like me. I'm like, oh, this is a big opportunity, but this is not our priority. But I hope somebody does this. And often companies come to us, can we try it? And we are very open to it. Like, use our technology, see if it works, and we grow with you. That kind of things happen all the time, and we're in the lucky position that we can do it because we have built a process for ingesting and making things work quite easily.
Right. But is there a sort of a conceptual barrier for people that are used to doing it for so long, a certain way?
There are people who don't want to change their ways. They have their own catalog of music. They know it from end to end. And I've demoed this to clients who are like, we don't have anything like this in our catalog. And I'm like, let's drop it in and see. And then you find an underscore or an instrumental, and the piece of it that you had was a little snippet at the end, and it actually works for what you're looking for. But we have people who say, I want to do it myself, but there's always people who don't want to adapt to new technology, and they are not our audience anyway. So I'm not so worried about them. I see that most people want to do this, even people who've done it for 30 years. We get love letters from music soups who are like, I've been dreaming about this for 20 years. Now it's here. And that's the kind of feeling that is amazing. Because if you're a music soup, you build up a catalog of, let's say, 30,000 tracks or 50,000 tracks over your career of things. I love this music. I want to use it sometime. But there is no way the human brain can remember each piece of music.
Yeah.
So we can actually bring it forward for them.
It only takes a minute to speak to someone who works at a publisher, whether it's a big one or a small one, for you to sort of realize how do you do this? Because you've got a catalog that's, even if you've got a catalog of just a few thousand, do you think there's a lot of value to be unlocked in catalogs? That it's sort of songs that have just sort of percolated their way down to the bottom and they're really good, but or bits of songs or moods in pieces of music. Is there a lot of value to be unlocked and found there, or is it again more about coming in a different way and finding that value through those different paths in and out.
I definitely think there's untapped value. There's a lot of catalog that doesn't have any data. They might have the song title and an artist, but there's no way else to find it. So if you say to Alexa, play me some romantic jazz, there's just a certain amount of tracks that have that data in it. Um, and that means the rest will not be searched. You will never hear it. And for older catalogs, they could have hundreds of thousands or even millions of tracks that never gets rediscovered because there's no way to rediscover it unless you randomly click through it. And we want to reactivate this. I was discussing this in Denmark with the local broadcaster. I'm like, if somebody wants to find a track from the 80s to use in a film, they end up using the same 10 tracks because that's the big hits. But that's not necessarily what you need in the show. But there is no way of searching without looking at release year and title and like factual metadata. So if we can also add a layer of audio similarity there, you can activate all the catalog. You can find things that we have forgotten exist, and it's going to be great because there's never been more creators and they want more content, and we have so much content out there that let's get in front of the right people. I think that's what we're trying to do.
What is the future then? You're obviously looking at expanding the opportunities that are available with this technology, but what are you looking for as a company? Like, what are your sort of future success points?
So there is a technical track to it where we're developing new stuff. We are very research heavy company, so R&D is 2/3 of the company, and we're focused on becoming the search for music. So we imagine that you have a search bar where you can input anything you want, and we'll sort it for you. We'll find exactly what you need. And we think that's kind of the future we're heading towards. And it's not that far away. I'm surprised every time when we talk to our dev team when they show us POCs. Like, okay, we already have this, so that's super exciting. And with natural language search, it's something we always improve on. Now we're working on adding a layer of lyric, sentiment, and understanding, so that I don't know how familiar you are with the problems of searching within lyrics, but it's a big issue for all publishers. It's like, how do I find
why is that? Why is it complicated?
Some of them don't even have lyrics available. That's the first problem. The second one is that it takes a long time to go through lyrics and find. So now you're searching for actual words in there. So I need a love song, so they search for love. But you might not need the word love in a song for it to be a love song. So we want to look at the lyrics and find the sentiment and the themes of songs and connect that so you can search it with your natural language. So imagine that you can say, I need a song for a scene in Manhattan in the 60s. You can already do that with natural language, but it needs to have a female vocal and they need to be singing about broken love or something. So all of that you can just put in one sentence and we'll find you that from a catalog. I think that's super exciting. And one thing, you mentioned 100,000 tracks coming out on a daily basis. The number just keeps growing.
Yes. I'm out of date.
And that's before we're flooded with AI generative music. So I think search and discovery is like a bigger value add for the music industry than generative. I think we have enough music. We need to get it in the front of the right people and activate it. And we don't need 1 million songs coming online every day. But if we get that, we still need search tools to find what we want to listen to, in my mind. So, yeah. Did that answer the question?
Yes, it does. I mean, I'm interested in that. There's a final little question, which is if there is a flood of AI-generated tracks, like you say, there's already a lot of very good music out there, and presumably, if a lot of tracks, in the millions are being produced, there's going to be a lot of very similar sounding or feeling tracks, right? Do you feel that this is somewhere where your technology can actually cut through that? Because, like, if there's a 10,000 tracks that sound kind of the same and have the same feel, how do you pick the right one? That's a sort of a question of scale I think my mind can't deal with.
Yeah, we can handle that scale of thousands of tracks being similar. It means that we just have to have a more granular search. When things are that similar, because we're not looking for sound alikes like this could lead to. We're looking for things that have the same feel. So the results would be very varied anyway. But I don't know how it will handle 100 million tracks that
Yeah.
are very similar.
I don't know how I will handle 100 million tracks. I don't.
No, we kind of don't need it. So everyone will have their own soundtrack. I was talking to someone that said maybe in the future, everyone will have their own soundtrack to film. So it's adapted to you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that a good thing? Like, if we
Yeah.
watch the same film, we want to talk about the score and we want to talk about the same experience.
The shared experience.
Yeah.
I think that's a fascinating idea, isn't it? I want to talk to you about, when the needle drops on that song there, that was great.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not a big believer in that, but I am a believer in that there will be produced a lot of music in the future, and quality-wise, there's already a lot of shit music being produced, whether they're by humans or generative or AI. But I don't think we need to flood the system with more of it. I think it will be a big problem for the DSPs to handle the incoming influx, and we will try to do discovery tools that helps finding the music you're looking for. I don't have the answer on how we'll do that, but
no, well, yeah, you'll find out. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to put some links below the podcast to your technology, and people can check it out for themselves, or if they want to steal one of your ideas and approach you and try and build it, I guess they can do that as well. And I'll put a contact email address as well to get in touch with you. One final question before you dash off. Talking of selecting music and choosing it, if you could only choose one piece of music to listen to for the rest of your life, what would it be?
It's almost what I'm doing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I live.
If anyone should know, I would argue that you should have an answer for this.
Is it one song or is it one band? That's the question.
As I'm getting older, I'm feeling more flexible. So it can be a band, it can be an album, or it can be a song.
No, I think I would go something classic. So I listen to like Beatles, and I listen to Rod Stewart, which was the song I danced to at my wedding as well. So I think I would leave it at the two big British acts.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'll put a couple of links to that. Maybe every picture tells a story or something like that. There, people take two different paths generally. They go for something that they know is a guaranteed classic, or they go for something very obscure. So I respect your decision. All right, Einar Helde, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
All right, big thank you again to Einar. And if you found that useful, please share this podcast on with someone else who you think will get something out of it. Links to AIM's API and the other things he mentioned are beneath the podcast. If you want to get in touch with me, I'd love to hear from you, of course. You can email me on joe@musically.com. That's Joe, J-O-E. And we have a free weekly email called The Knowledge, which rounds up bits and pieces of the best analysis, news, marketing insight, and skills from across Music Ally's broad range of services. So sign up and impress your boss. Links to that are also in the description. That's it. Thanks for listening. I've been Joe Sparrow. You've been you. And until next time, farewell.